Today, I had the opportunity to interview Choka Kandachi, a chika idol, also known as an underground idol. Now, in this interview, she gives the truth about what it's really like being an idol in Japan. So, if you're interested in hearing her story and her experience, then please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help out. Now, on to the interview. All right, so today we have the most fabulous and most amazing chika idol in all of Japan that sings, dances, writes her own songs, and plays over 5 different instruments. And not only that, but is also a translator and interpreter. Choka, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really do appreciate it. And as I understand it, you grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, and you moved to Japan in 2021 to kind of pursue your dream to become an idol, and that's fantastic to hear. So tell
Yep,
us
that's exactly right.
is
Yeah.
that right? Oh, perfect. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the group that you're currently part of.
My name is Choka. I was raised in Seattle. I kind of grew up around San Francisco, Seattle, that Pacific Northwest area, and I moved to Japan in November of 2021 to
Okay.
kind of pursue my dreams of doing music in Japan. And the group I'm in right now is called Idol Shikaku. This is their costume.
Oh, very
And
nice.
we perform in live houses around Tokyo, usually around the Shinjuku area. We have big monthly shows that we produce entirely on our own. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And just curious, like for yourself, kind of out of all the careers you could have chosen, what kind of inspired you to pursue the career as an idol of all things?
Yeah, so I was an orchestra kid. So I was in orchestra. I played the violin. Started in fifth grade and I played up until my junior year of college. And I was also in pep band in college. I did musical theater when I was in high school. So I was always really a part of performing arts and music in general. And when I was graduating college, it was the COVID pandemic, and I
Okay.
really couldn't like imagine life without like musical performance.
Mhm.
And I was also struggling to find a job in the United States because of the COVID
Oh,
pandemic.
yeah, it makes
And
sense.
since I was bilingual, I was like, maybe I'll try a shot at living in Japan, which is kind of the country that my parents grew up in. This place that I've always like kind of studied to go to
Mhm.
because I've been studying Japanese my entire life. And I thought it might be cool to kind of live in a place that I've never lived before. And I knew I wanted to do music performance. And my sister has always really been a huge fan of idols in Japan. And so
Okay.
she's been watching them. We lived in Seattle,
Yeah.
and she would watch them on the computer. And she was a big fan of AKB48, Hello Project, those big idols.
Yeah, yeah.
And she really encouraged me to kind of go into the idol scene.
Oh, really? That's great to hear. So would you say in
Yeah.
part it's because of your sister and like that kind of connection she had to like that idol industry that made you want to go into that as well, based on your background?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I don't think I would have been an idol without my sister's interest in idols, definitely.
That's really great to hear that she supports you so much too. Is she also in Japan right now? Or she's back in the States.
No, no, no. She's actually a college student right now. She goes
Oh,
to college in
wow.
California. Yeah, my parents live in San Francisco still, so I'm the only member of my family who lives in Japan at the
Oh,
moment.
actually, same here. Out of all my relatives, I'm the only one who's lived here for over 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of similar in that regard.
Mhm.
And all right, so next, um, for yourself, what do you think is the best thing about being an idol?
So I would say, hands down, best part of being an idol is the musical performance. I think all of us idols are
Okay.
interested, at least, in musical
Mhm.
performance. We want to become an idol because there is that musical performance aspect. There are so many different jobs, I think, for girls in Japan who want to who want to do like social media, who want to be
Yeah.
in front of an audience, right? They can work at a concept cafe, they can be like a social media influencer. But I think of all of the careers, I think idol is the one that comes with that musical performance. So I think everyone who chooses to become an idol is at least interested in musical performance. And I, for one, have done musical performance most of my life. So the biggest part for me, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, that's great to hear. So it's like the art and the passion coming together for yourself then.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And kind of on the opposite end of that, what is the hardest aspect about being an idol in your opinion?
I think the word idol, right, is comes from this like
Hmm.
idealized version of a human being, or like an idealized version of some sort of deity, right? So it's like this image of something that doesn't actually exist. And so when you're an idol, I think you have to become this person that people can idolize. And I think that comes with a lot of like adding things to your personality that you already have, or taking things away from your personality that people don't think are like entertaining enough or are desirable enough. So I think that comes with a lot of sacrifice. I also think that comes with a lot of sacrifice of like a work-life balance, because you're constantly
Okay.
having to kind of promote this image of yourself that doesn't actually exist.
Okay, so it's kind of like you have your kind of personal image going on in the background, then kind of your stage image and what you put forth to the public.
Right, exactly. It's I wouldn't say that it's entirely a lie, right? But I think part of being an idol is creating this image that people want to support and
Hmm.
people gain a lot of like inspiration from. And I think someone that lives like an average life is
Okay.
I feel like people sorry. Um it's like I think I live a pretty average life, other than outside of like what I do as an idol. And I think I have to kind of like distance myself from that average image of a person in
Hmm.
order to kind of become the idol that people want to see.
Okay, so you kind of separate your kind of two identities then, like your personal self
Right,
versus
right.
your kind of idol persona.
Hmm,
Okay, that's
hmm.
fair enough there. And for yourself then, who do you look up to and why?
Let's see. There are a lot of musicians that I looked up to. I think in the idol industry, I used to work with this one girl called Moinyan. Um, she and I were in a group together before she
Oh,
decided to
okay.
graduate and start her own group.
Oh, wow,
And
that's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's truly an inspiration to me, I would say. She's actually turning 38 this year, which is very much older than the average idol. And so she's kind of fighting this image of like
Wow.
ageism in the industry. And so I think that's kind of where I draw my inspiration from as a member of Idol Shikaku. I think we all stand for different issues. And
Mhm.
I think um a lot of what she presents is like this image of someone who like fights for what she believes in. And as someone who is bicultural, that's kind of something that I want to like kind of put forward, you know.
Okay.
People have this like huge image of Japanese or J-pop idols as being just Japanese, but as someone who grew up in the States, like I think it's okay for other people like myself who like grew up outside of Japan to kind of pursue their dreams of doing J-pop.
Okay, that's great to hear. Yeah, I know, and I know, especially in the United States right now, like idol culture is becoming so popular as well. You get like foreign idols overseas, and that's
Hmm,
becoming
hmm.
a really part of the culture as well. That's great to hear that it's spreading as well. But yeah, that's wow. So yeah, like you said, the person you look up to kind of like defies the stereotypes and do is really carving her own path, which is fantastic for that. And
Right.
so for yourself as well, kind of moving on from that, what is a typical day like in the life of like a chika idol? Like how long do you train for? How long is your dance routine? That kind of thing.
Let's see. It really depends on what kind of group you're in. A lot of groups are very performance focused, or a lot of groups are very like social media focused. We also have the kinds of groups where people aren't expected to be an idol full time, and so they
Okay.
have jobs outside of doing an idol. And the group I was in before was kind of like that, where you would have like a regular day at work where you weren't doing idol stuff, and then you would come in like after hours. So I would like probably sometime in the evening, and then you would get dressed for performance, and then you would do a show sometime in the evening after everybody gets off of work. So that's kind of a lot of what a lot of idols have routine like that. But I well we what we do, so this is speaking from my personal experience,
Yes.
is I have like 3 days a week that I use specifically for idol activities. So we'll get together, we'll have meetings, we'll plan our shows, we'll practice choreography, that sort of thing. um because we are like a self-produced group, we have to do everything
Hmm.
ourselves. So we do
Yeah.
like online stuff ourselves. We plan our shows, we write our music, that sort of thing. And so not a lot of idols do that. A lot of idols have agencies where they'll schedule everything for you.
Hmm.
So you'll tell them your schedule and then they'll kind of be like, "Hey, do you have, 3 hours free on Friday where
Yeah.
you can come in and work on choreo, that sort of thing."
Oh wow.
So
So it
yeah,
sounds like it's a lot more work on your part since you're kind of self-produced, as you said as well.
right, yeah.
So
a
does
lot
that,
of
yeah.
um a lot of idols have agencies that book shows for them, but we generally either produce our own shows or we book
Mhm.
our shows ourselves. And so that it comes with a lot of like unidol like business that we have to do in order to like do the idol stuff.
So it's kind of like behind the scenes of the business that you have to do
Right,
as
yeah.
well. Wow, that's fantastic to hear. So that means you must be like great at marketing and sales as well. That's
I mean, I sure
wow.
hope so. We do have some staff members that help us out who are, kind of knowledgeable about marketing and stuff like that, but yeah, we do most of everything ourselves, so.
Wow, that's really great to hear for that. And actually, I'm curious though, like for yourself, regarding like your costumes and kind of your creative freedom that you have, how much creative freedom do you have like in terms of dancing, singing, making your costumes? I'm guessing it must be for yourself in your group, it must be everything for the most part because it's self-produced. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, I would say for the most part, yes. A lot of groups, like who aren't self-produced like ours, they have someone who designs costumes for them,
Yeah.
who writes songs for them, and have like teachers that do choreo for them. But what we do is we have our leader generally designs our outfits for us, and then we have
Okay.
input on like what specific design like needs that we have, do you want like a skirt or do you want shorts? Do you want to wear pants? That sort of thing. Like, are you looking for a specific kind of collar? If you want to hide certain like body insecurities, we talked
Okay.
earlier about that. And then she likes designer costumes. And then for choreo, we kind of work together. We have bits and pieces of like, hey, what if we put this move in? We kind of pull from different idol groups that have similar moves
Hmm.
and similar like songs. And then for music, we have someone else write our songs for us generally, and then we write the lyrics.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I do solo music on the side, so I write all of my own songs for that. But in our group, we have someone who usually does vocal and music,
Hmm.
who composes songs for us. So, and
Okay.
then we write the lyrics. And
Uh,
then
yes.
what else? Let's see. For our shows, we generally have scripted shows that kind of revolve around a certain theme. For this month we're doing kind of like a show for kids.
Oh, okay. What
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
entail
We've done.
exactly? And is there a difference between a show for kids versus the, I guess, general population or?
Oh, so this is like entirely different from like an idol show. What we're doing is we're kind of doing like a parody of a children's show. And so we have like a character that comes on and they'll introduce songs and stuff, we'll interact, that sort of thing. Where we like to do shows that are kind of like different from regular idol shows. A lot of idol shows are called taiban, which they have like 20 or 25 minute like musical slots for different
Okay.
groups to perform, but we have like a monthly show where it just us for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow, that's like
And
entire concert then,
right,
basically.
right. And so we plan everything from like the concept building to the script to what kind of things we want to happen on stage, what kind of songs we're doing. So yeah, that is basically what we do for our monthly shows.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. I am curious, like based on what you just said, in terms of like consensus, do you have to get the group's entire consensus in order to move forward, like with lyrics or the costumes, or does either the leader kind of have the last say for that?
I would say the leader, our leader Taya, has the last say, but we generally just come up with ideas on the spot during meetings and stuff, where we're just like, "Hey, who has ideas?" And then we'll just
So kind
kind
of
of
like
put
a
them
think
together if
tank,
someone
huh?
has a good idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We have a member Nina who really likes writing scripts, so she'll do the scripts. I generally come up with like the big sets in the background, so I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I make big props. I'm the smallest member in my group, but I make the biggest things. So that's what I do.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear for that. Wow. So, like going based on that, then, I mean, you guys put in a lot of hard work, and that's fantastic. And I am curious, like on the kind of a fandom side of it, how do you deal with that? Because I'm sure, like, of course, I'm not, and I also not sure, but I've heard like, especially for the fandoms of certain groups, that they're extremely harsh and strict. And how does this affect like your mental health or mental well-being in general?
Actually, people are a lot nicer than you'd think. I kind of came in with that mentality as well, where I just assumed that people were going to be either very
Hmm.
strict, very creepy, really mean, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But generally, people are really nice. I don't get a lot of hate comments, which is surprising. But I also am part of like a smaller group at the moment, and we're
Hmm.
trying to get bigger, and so I'm sure a lot more hate comments will be directed towards me in the future. But generally, people are very nice. I think a lot of Idol fans are aware of that stereotype of Idol fans being like mean or creepy, and so
Yeah.
they actually go out of their way to be like really nice to kind of keep their distance. For example, if I run into someone that supports us like outside of like a
Yeah.
concert setting, they'll generally just pretend that we don't exist or that they
Okay.
don't know us, which
You're
is
like,
really
oh,
nice of them.
okay, keep on going,
Oh
kind
yeah, they
of.
don't do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're actually the ones saying hi, so or it's just like hey, but they'll just wave and just kind of back off. So they're really nice about it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
really
always
great to
nice to have
hear.
like a solid support system anyway, and so I really appreciate my fans for even showing up or like interacting with me on social media.
Oh yeah, that's great to hear that. It sounds like, especially for your community, it's really supportive and not toxic at all. So that's really great to hear for it. And
Yeah.
I really
I,
hope it stays that way for you guys too.
Yeah, I would say I think the fan communities can be toxic. I think also the industry can be toxic. A lot of people don't pay their idols well enough. There's
Oh,
also,
okay.
that issue of sexual harassment
Yeah.
within that agency. I've heard horror stories of people being hit on by their like bosses and stuff like that. Um what else is there? There's also a lot of ageism. I had a hard time finding a group to belong to once I hit, I think, like once I started looking for a job because
Hmm.
I started looking for idol groups after I finished grad school. So you can kind of assume that I'm
Okay.
kind of over that like age limit for most groups.
Hmm.
And so it was hard for me to find a group, sure. And then I think obviously there's like the whole lookism thing, the whole I want idols to be happy all the time and I don't want to see anything negative coming from idols, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it comes with a lot of that like stuff behind the scenes.
Okay, I understand for that. But I'm assuming because like you're more of a self-produced group that a lot of those restriction and constraints, do they also apply to you? Like, for example, I'm not sure how true this is, but I heard like for bigger groups that, for example, you're not allowed to date outside or you're not allowed to say it publicly, and there's been instances where they've had to go on TV and kind of do some kind of apology or some kind of action to show that they're sincere for doing that. Is it the same for you for your group as well, or is it a little different?
I slightly different. I think we do have to put out this idol image because we are part of
Yeah.
the idol community and that idol culture. And so I think a lot of idol fans who are within that culture will have a harder time connecting to us if we
Mhm.
act in a way that is, I guess, un-idol like. But we don't
Okay.
have any solid groups, or like we don't have any solid rules in our particular like group, like agency, I guess.
Hmm.
There's nothing in our contract that says that we can't date other people, that sort of thing. But if someone is dating someone and that becomes public, I
Yeah.
think that a lot of fans will kind of like distance themselves, and so we do have to create this idol image for sure.
Okay, so there's no hard set rule like you said in your
No, no,
contracts.
I've actually never been in a group where there has been like a strict rule of no dating anybody. That generally only applies to like groups that are like on TV, who are like
Okay.
followed around like by
Yeah.
paparazzi, that sort of thing. A lot of chica idols are don't have like a no dating rule.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that like the distinction between that. So is
Yeah, a
that
lot of groups
yeah.
are it's just don't make it public is generally I think the consensus.
Okay, that's fair enough. And so is that mainly based on the type of idol, or is it mainly based on because of like the agency group?
It's just based on what kind of like people you want to attract to an idol setting,
Okay.
I guess. A lot of idol fans want idols that aren't dating other people, I guess. And so if an agency has a no dating rule, that's generally because they are afraid that they
Mhm.
can't keep track of their idols, or they think that if anything happens, they really don't want it to be public at all, that sort of thing.
Okay.
They're just being, I guess, more cautious than an average agency that allows dating.
Mhm. All right, that's fair enough. Actually, that go kind of is a nice transition onto my next question. Is for like how are the for yourself, especially like how are the contracts structured for you?
I would have to say that most contracts are really, really vague in what kind of
Okay.
responsibilities that an idol has. I would say that English is my favorite language. Like I am an English native and I have
Yes.
trouble reading like contracts in Japanese, so I have to have people explain it to me while I'm reading it. Japanese is
Okay.
hard.
Yeah, I agree
But
with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say they have, let's see, the length of the contract generally anywhere between 1 year to 3 years. I've never really
Okay.
run into a group that has more than 3 years on a contract.
Mhm.
And let's see, they generally have like a section that talks about how much of the profit that you're actually going to get as part of your pay. And that can run anywhere between 30% to like 70% is the highest I've seen. And
Oh
my group
wow.
has yeah, they I
70%.
think the groups that the last two groups I've been in
Hmm.
have had like 50 to 70%, which is really, really high for the idol industry. It's because we're self-produced. We do everything ourselves. And so the
Okay.
pay cut is a lot higher because we don't have anybody else who like has the job of booking our shows, running our
Hmm.
online shop, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you do everything yourselves, that's why.
Right, right. And then they have certain rules about like what kind of like content you're going to be putting out, how much they expect you to like show up to the job, that sort of thing.
Okay, that makes sense for that. And so we were talking about contracts before. You said usually they're between 1 and 3 years, and depending on the agency, it can take up to what was it, between 30 and 70% of the cut. Is that correct?
Means if you take a checky for let's say 1,000 yen, you would get I would say 300 yen back is generally I would say 30 is generally the industry norm, and then it can only go
Hmm.
up from there.
Okay, but it can only go up, so that's good to hear for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I think the lowest I've heard is 10, which is pretty low. So if you take a checky for 1,000 yen, you get 100 yen back.
Yeah, that's a little low for that. But I
Yeah.
guess you have to do what you have to do in order to chase your dream as well, though. That makes sense. And just I'm curious for yourself because I think you said this before, but you're a first, and correct me if I'm wrong, first generation Japanese American. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say yeah, first generation. I was born in Japan. I moved to the United States when I was 6 months old, and I lived in the United States ever since. So I've never really lived in Japan. I went to Japanese school every Saturday to like work on my Japanese,
Okay.
spoke Japanese at home, and then I decided to move to Japan after grad school. So
All right. So I'm curious, like as a Japanese American, since you are bilingual in both English and Japanese, do you feel like it's an advantage to have that?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
On the positive side, I would say that I have like access to an entire group of people, and I can
Hmm.
communicate with an entire group of people that a lot of monolingual Japanese idols don't have access to.
Yeah.
So I can talk to people who are overseas who are interested in idols, or I can talk to Kaigai idols and that sort of thing. But on the flip side of that, I think the entire idol industry is catered to like a specific crowd of people, which are generally Japanese men in their 30s to like late 50s. And
Really, late
I
50s. Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
I've also had fans who are in their 60s.
Hmm.
Um and so it's I think the entire industry is like targeted towards that specific like age and gender group. And
Okay.
I do say that a lot of people have trouble relating to me as someone who is foreign because I think the Japanese are a collectivist culture and they
Yeah.
like to support people who they find relatable. And as
Mhm.
someone who is foreign, they have trouble finding me relatable. I don't have a lot of like stuff in common with them. So I think a lot of people like keep their distance from me once they realize that I'm much more American than what I look like.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
something that I struggle with for sure. A lot of people are also interested in me because I'm bilingual and they're
Hmm.
interested in learning about different cultures, but there's always a flip side.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's a really interesting perspective for it because you're able to reach like an entire different market. Like you said, overseas idol groups as well. You can kind of connect with them and contact them. And also you can also kind of, since you're bilingual, you can also have an established base in Japan as well. So it seems like you could have potentially more reach worldwide and globally in the future.
Right, right. I think the problem with the industry is I think a lot of an idol's worth is calculated by how many people they bring to a show. And as someone who has a lot of like overseas fans, which I really appreciate, thank you guys always. But I they it's harder for an overseas fan to come to a show. And so as many overseas fans as I have, like it makes me look like I don't have like a home base of people in Japan yet that come to my shows because Japanese people have a harder time relating to me, I think. So a lot of like overseas fans find me really relatable because I am from overseas. But
Mhm.
I think once a Japanese fan realizes that I am like a lot of my values and a lot of my language is American, I think they kind of decide that they don't really want to support me, and that's really sad.
Oh, yeah, I kind of understand that to a certain degree. Like for myself, making friends in Japan in general, like you said,
Right,
more
right.
collectivistic. So there's a certain mindset, certain values that they have that we, coming from like North America, might not necessarily have that in
Right.
common. But
There's almost like this sort of I guess disappointment when people talk to me because I look very Japanese.
uh,
I really like the visuals that the Japanese like pop idols have. And so that's something
okay,
that I've always had as a kid.
yeah,
I refuse to like grow up my bangs like a lot of like Japanese Americans do.
yeah.
Um but once they start talking to me, they realize that a lot of my mannerisms and my values, the things that I like to talk about, are American, and they're a little taken aback for sure.
Okay, but yeah, I think that's in my point, from my perspective, I think that's actually a plus because you're different, you're unique compared to like
Right.
some of the other idol groups in the industry. So I think personally that's a positive thing.
Yeah. I sure hope so.
But no, thank you so much for taking the time today. Really do appreciate it. And so last is a speed round. So
Okay.
just say what the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
You ready? All right, fantastic. So favorite food,
Condor pasta.
drink, favorite drink,
They're drinking lemonade.
best book that you've read in the past year.
Ooh. Paper Towns by John Green.
Okay, I have to look that up after. And last one, best spot in Japan.
Best spot in Japan. Oh, that's a hard one. Um, let's see. I went to Takao-san, like Mount Takao, like
Yeah,
last weekend. That was really nice.
oh, that's good. The reason I'm asking that one is because I want to find new spots to visit, so
Everyone's been to Mount Takao.
it's fair enough there. But anyway, thank you so much for your time today. Really do appreciate it. And so just for future reference, where can people find and support you?
So I have the same handle for my TikTok, my Twitter, and my Instagram. It's no idol underscore and then Choka spelled Choka. So people can find me there. I think I also have a lit link that is connected to my Instagram, my Twitter, and my TikTok. So please come find me. Hope to see you at my shows.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'll leave all of that in the description box down below. So make sure to check her out. She is awesome. So again, thank you so much, Shoko, for your time and have a great night.
Thank you.